implementations through multiple industries and give back and share some of that. And so what we're going to be doing is each month, we're taking a different topic in NetSuite, and we're breaking it down a little bit into the detail, talking about why it's important, how our clients are utilizing it to enable them to be successful. And we're also going to be taking a look at, what does that implementation look like? And we'll do that today too. So last month, our topic was a little bit outside of that. So what we did is we talked about uncertain times. We looked at COVID-19 and how businesses can start to look at their plan and look at their strategies as a business and start to make sure that they can adapt to what the new life is in business with the impacts of the pandemic. We also took a look at cash flow and being able to look at working capital using KPIs. And so if you missed out on that, that's okay. We do have that recorded as well. We can send you a link after the fact. Just reach out to us and let us know that you're interested. So for this month, what we're looking at is success with support cases, support case management in NetSuite. And so we're going to be talking about, again, things like why it is important. We'll actually be diving into NetSuite to look at some of the details. We'll talk about what an implementation looks like all of that detail, and really about getting into how do we enhance our customer service, or how do we enhance the proactive side of it, which is customer experience. And so as we go through this, just a couple of things. What I ask is you guys can feel free to interact with us. In the WebEx, there is a chat feature, so please feel free to type in your questions. We ask that people don't jump into the conversation, but rather just use the chat, because what we'll do is we'll come back after we get through the content and we have a little bit of a Q&A section, so please feel free to utilize that. And as we go through this, Todd and I will be talking about different takeaways. And so you guys will hear us kind of point those out. We'll stop and try to make sure that you get those pieces of feedback, whether you write them down or you look at the webinar later, because this one will be recorded. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about goVirtualOffice first, because some of those that have joined, we've got some of our existing clients, which is really great to see you guys. Thank you so much for jumping on. Hopefully you guys can have some good takeaways from today's session. And we also have those that maybe don't know who goVirtualOffice is. So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes on this. Just a bit of background. We've been doing NetSuite implementations for the last 15 years. So we have a lot of experience in the industry. We have a lot of experience with the tool itself in NetSuite. And we have upwards of about 40 employees, 30 really dedicated to specifically NetSuite. And what that allows us to do, what we do with each one of our clients, is we assign them a business consultant, which is someone who's got a lot of industry background, a lot of NetSuite knowledge, and they're there to help facilitate your strategies as a business in terms of how do you balance that business and the technology side and what you can do going forward. We call that your stairway. And what we also do, because of our team, is we also assign an execution team of 2 to 3 application consultants, which are there dedicated for your account and allow you to be able to have the same faces that you're talking to. We are in the U.S. too as well. We've got 30 plus NetSuite certifications. So again, a lot of application knowledge too. And our goal is always, I want to make sure I express this, our goal is always to utilize native NetSuite. And so as we go through this, we're going to be talking about native NetSuite. You're going to hear that. The benefit with GVO and our team is that if anything expands outside of that, after we exhaust native NetSuite, we've got a really great development team of about 10 folks that know the ins and outs, all the way from Suite Commerce to GL impacting adjustments. So a lot of really great developers on our team as well. So that's a little bit about us. And I guess in general too, we were Partner of the Year for 2019, which is really exciting for our team. We were working really hard to make that happen. And a lot of it was due to our Suite Success implementations, as well as, like I mentioned, we're a 5-star partner and have been for a while. So I'll get off of that topic. Thanks for listening to me on that. But let's go to our introductions. And I'll just start with myself here first. My name is Mark Miller. I am the Professional Services Manager at goVirtualOffice. So I support our business consultants that I mentioned and our application consultants. A little bit about my past is I was a business consultant. I implemented NetSuite for small businesses all the way up to enterprise-sized companies. So a lot of industry experience, a lot of troubleshooting in NetSuite, a lot of data migrations, all of that, very, very familiar with. And my role in this webinar is, one, obviously to do the introduction, but it's also to talk about how our clients are utilizing support cases in NetSuite. And so I'll also talk about how we then implement it with clients. So those are the two topics that I'll be covering. And then with me, you see his picture there is Todd Parish, one of our senior business consultants. Todd, you want to give your introduction, and then I'll let you take it from there.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, as Mark mentioned, I'm a senior business consultant here at goVirtualOffice. I've been here, I'm going on my 7th year, and I've been a senior application consultant for the majority of that time. I have a lot of experience in the services, the e-commerce, the CRM, support case portion of NetSuite. So I get the privilege to go through this with you today and give you a little bit of thought leadership, a little bit of history and what we've done in the past, show you some tips and tricks, and really have a great opportunity for you to explore support cases. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. First thing is I just want to clear out the agenda, what we're looking at. First is just talk about the state of customer service and what that means, what's going on in the industry, just to give you a key insights of what customers are expecting, what's going on there, what are other businesses doing. Then second, we'll look at success with support cases, okay? What does that mean, success with support cases? Or we're going to give you a little insight into what that means and how you can be successful. The third area is we're actually going to go into a demo account. We're going to take a look at support cases, a couple use cases on how we use them or how our customers have used them. And then finally, Mark's going to jump back in, and he's going to kind of take a look at what does the support case implementation look like, what are the costs associated, and next steps. Okay, so with that, jump in, state of customer service. First thing, everybody that's in the business world or organizations that are not-for-profit as well, there are certain expectations. We have expectations on price. Everybody's looking at price, and there's a lot of transparency with price. Now, with the internet and e-commerce, it's not hard to find out pricing of other customers or other products or services or things of that nature. Also in the business and organization industry, everything is sped up. So speed has also become an issue. But one thing that's always been prevalent all along is customer service and the customer experience. And trying to take into account that business still does revolve around people. And how do you deal with those people? How do you react to those situations? And that really does become a big portion of your business and can be a big portion of how you are a successful organization. So diving into that, couple quotes here. Tony from Zappos hits the nail on the head. Customer service isn't just a department. Okay? For those that are currently on NetSuite, you know that NetSuite is a full ERP. Everything should be encompassed in that. It should be one source of truth. And that enables and allows people to have an impact on the customer service with everybody within an organization. Always have a good example is if I'm a business and I'm delivering product and I have a delivery driver, that delivery driver has a cell phone. Well, NetSuite has a mobile app that allows you to be able to create a support case right on your mobile app right there. So say in a situation that product gets damaged at delivery or when they're receiving it, instead of asking the customer, well, why don't you call in or send an email to go ahead and create that support case, that delivery driver has the same access to that customer record in NetSuite. If they're logged in with a role, they can create that support case right there. So that's just an example that customer service just doesn't have to be your customer service reps. It could be everybody in the organization. Okay, American Express. They came out and said that people, from what they found, people will pay 17% more for a product or services if there's great customer service. So if those companies are out there and you start to hear, we need to increase our margins, one of the ways to do that is through great customer service. And there's a lot of great brands out there that exemplify that. Apple is one of them. They do a great job with their customer service. And then Accenture, they came out and said that, 48% of customers expect specialized treatment, okay? So half of your customers are going to expect a special treatment when they're dealing with you, okay? And that may sound odd, but think back to before the age of the internet. People had very close relationships with their customers. Okay? They knew everything about them. They knew their kids. They talked to them all the time. And it was a situation where people got to know each other. Just because things have moved to a digital platform does not change that at all. And if anything, they expect it more because they know that people have digital platforms that track all of their information. They don't think, well, this person has disparate information. They think, well, if I'm dealing with Apple, they know my name, they know my product, they know what I paid last, et cetera, et cetera. So customers have gone to expect to receive that level of treatment when they're a good customer. And to them, being a good customer means I bought stuff from you. So everybody's going to expect that. Next is something from American Express again, that 62% of consumers expect insight and knowledge into their purchase or them. They expect you to know. So my question to you, because every industry is different, what do your customers expect you to know about them? Okay, is it transaction history? Is it what items they purchased? Is it the last time you did a service call? And think about what type of information my customers, if you put yourself in their shoes, what are they expecting? Okay. Then the follow-up question to that is, how fast can you get to that information in NetSuite? Okay. And that's really the key point, because we'll get into the tool portion of it, but it's really about understanding what that process is. What do those customers expect? Okay. And then mapping out that tool so that you can get to that information. Okay. Matching up the process and the tool. Okay. Being an associate, I don't know if anybody here is familiar with them, but they actually came up with what's called the Net Promoter Score, which is a great tool to track customer satisfaction. If you haven't ever used it, research it, fantastic. But really, it's like score 1 to 10, whether or not you'd recommend this product or service to another company, and give a little bit of text. Okay. But they found out that companies that excel at customer experience are going to have 4 to 8% higher in revenues. Okay. So what this is saying is that customer service isn't just a cost. It is a way to do business. Not only is it right to treat your customers right, but also is going to be a financial expectation that goes along with that. And you can, when you're taking care of those customers, you can charge that more and expect to have more sales from it. Okay. This one here I wanted to point out, because as I was doing some research on the current state, I found this really interesting. Millennials are the first generation to tell more people about positive experience than negative experiences. Okay, this is personal insight to this, but the reality is people in some ways have come to expect poor customer service or the bare minimum. Okay, because there is a cost associated with providing that. Okay, with NetSuite, you can try to limit that cost by being efficient, but there is a cost. And a lot of times people, when profit margins get slim, then they go ahead and cut that. But what's available is that millennials are expecting that great customer service, and they love to preach the brand if you're providing that great customer service. So it's something important to keep in consideration. And then branding, Jeff Bezos is a good example. He said, brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well, okay? One of the hardest things is deal with customer service situations. There's a lot of emotions involved. Things don't happen that they should. And so, and it requires an organization to be synchronized to be able to handle that. And so doing customer service well is a hard thing. And also I read something recently where Jeff Bezos was talking about that they're not a product-focused company. They're not a technology-focused company or a process-focused company, but they're actually a customer-focused company. And everything they do as an organization revolves around that customer. Does that marketing email send out, they do A/B testing, which one is better for the customer? And when it comes to customer support, how do they do it to make sure it's better for the customer? How can they return products easier, things of that nature? So customer service really is a big differentiation for companies like USAA. There's a number of them, like I mentioned, Apple's another one. So they are differentiating themselves through their customer service. And then finally, with Maya Angelou, people will never forget how you made them feel. Okay, there's a big move right now that, and this is very valid. People want empathy. They want to be heard. And that's a very big, important thing for them, that they're understood. And years ago, when I started out in sales, one of the first things that they taught us in dealing with bad situations is the first thing to do is to listen and to be heard. And that's really important, to be able to make sure that your customers are heard, because then they can have their feelings and their issues validated, and then you work from there. And really does promote an opportunity. And that kind of leads to my last point, a couple points here on the state of customer service. Customer service is really the canary in the coal mine. This should really be an area where you start to look and have this data within NetSuite that'll tell you what's going on with your business. You have financials that are going to tell you how you're performing. It's extremely important. You're going to have your vendors who know what you owe. You're going to have your item information to know what I have available to sell. But support cases, if you set it up correctly, is going to be able to tell you what's going on with your business. Are you seeing a decline in sales? Okay. How are our customer complaints looking? Where are our product issues? Things of that nature. So it really is a canary in the coal mine, and really should give you insight into what's going on. Because Bill Gates said, your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. That's very true. And I've always been a big believer that your greatest challenges can also become your greatest opportunities, because it gives you the opportunity, because companies do mess up at times. Nobody's perfect. But those companies that do make a mistake, okay, or have something that doesn't go right, if that company can prove that even in those bad situations they can live up to their word, they generally will have a better long-term relationship with that customer than if they didn't. Okay? And then also, like a canary in the coal mine, 1 in 26 customers actually complain to the company. So if you hear that one customer, it depends on the industry, you say, if I have one customer complaining about this, do I have 25 other customers that are complaining about this but aren't taking the time or the energy to complain about it? So as you start to see that trend analysis, that these are what our customer complaints are, you start to see that trend, then you can start to internally look at, do we need to change our processes to do so? Okay. Then happy customers share with 6 or more people. Want to know the value of customer service? Those 6 people, what does your average customer bring into your business? Okay, times that by 6. Every time you make a customer happy, there's a good chance that you're going to have 6 people that you can influence. And then finally, my last quote here is by Alan Weiss. He said, ask your customers to be part of the solution and don't view them as part of the problem. Okay? It takes time and energy for people to call up or send an email or fill out a form. Okay, they're taking the time and energy to do so. Give them the respect that they want to be part of the solution, or they wouldn't be contacting you. Okay? Or they're going to be sharing with 15 other people that they're very unhappy. So make them part of the solution. With the support case, you're going to be able to track information, see things. That's going to open the door for more opportunity down the road. Okay? So success through support cases. Let's get into the NetSuite portion of it a little bit. So what is it? First off, support case is its own record in NetSuite. Just like you have a company record or a vendor record or an invoice record, it's actually its own record. Okay? And that's really important, because you know what? You can associate it with any other record in NetSuite. Okay? You would expect that you can associate a support case with the customer to know that there's a problem with that customer or the contact. But you can also do it with transactions. So say if you have a specific invoice that's, say, 90 days past due, and you want to go ahead and assign that back to create a support case and assign it to the sales rep to say, hey, can you find out what's going on with this late payment? You can create a support case from that invoice and assign it to that sales rep, and you can both have that same record where you can track interactions and share that information back and forth. And I've always said it's the most flexible record in NetSuite. It has no general ledger impact whatsoever in the business, so you can use it however you guys decide to use it as an organization. Next, you can track what you want and need to track. okay, and I have the want and the need because, of course you're going to need to know what the status is, where it's at in its life cycle, but also what is the issue. Somebody called in, they have a problem. I can create a whole list or a bevy of issues, like product damage, customer complaint, customer praise, things of that nature, and use that. And then also you can track your products to it, okay? So you could say, I have a product issue of damaged product. Well, you could go ahead and have on there a custom field if you wanted to say, how was it damaged? Was it damaged in transit? Was it damaged in the warehouse, et cetera, to track that type of information. So you get the needs and the wants. So you can really build that out. Like I said, not impacting any general ledger. It's very flexible. You can add those custom fields that you need and use it wisely. And then finally, I mentioned this before, company-wide access by permission. Okay, so naturally, certain roles within NetSuite are going to have access to support cases if you have that enabled in your account. But you can give it to anybody. Okay, I mentioned the delivery driver earlier. That'd be, if you have somebody who's a delivery driver and you have them set up in NetSuite, they can create and view the customer. They can view support cases, things of that nature. An executive can see the KPIs for your service department, go into and see actually, hey, I know our biggest customer just had a support case, what is going on? Everybody should be able to view that information in NetSuite, okay? Moving on, you have all the pieces in place. Okay, I'm a big fan of omni-channel with NetSuite. Omni-channel really means multiple different channels to going to a customer, dealing with the customer. But all having that same information in one place. And support case is a great use of that. First one is you have all your customers. You should. I would hope so. You have all your customers in NetSuite. Okay, you have all your items in NetSuite. And then you have your financials. So you have some really great information right there. Next, you have your transactions. Okay, full visibility in your transaction history. So if I am going to have a support case and I know that it's related to a transaction, I can relate it to any transaction within NetSuite. Now that I have my transactions, I have my customers, I should be able to see all that case history on that customer. I can see what that customer lifetime value is for that customer. So when I'm taking that call or I'm getting that email and I look up that customer, I can actually see the dollar amount that that customer is worth to our business. Okay. Next is reporting and dashboards. There's a bevy of it. I'll go through a little bit of it when we get into the software, but this is extremely dynamic. You can learn a lot about your business and a lot about your customers through like Suite Analytics, the new workbooks that you can do, or your reports or saved searches. A lot of good canned ones out of the box, especially the reports. Next, I said flexibility. Go back to that again. Add custom fields as you need. You can associate it to any record. Okay, it's your wild card. Then finally, it's company-wide. And I always put on here engineering, because if I have engineers creating products, or creating some type of item, I'm going to be able to see what issues are related to those items that I'm creating. Once again, going back to this is company-wide, I can see all the information that's going on within my business. Okay. Next, how does it promote success? First, gives customers a voice. You can do online customer forums and put it on your website. You can use My Account in SuiteCommerce or SuiteCommerce Advanced. You can create a support case through there. You can use email. You can do phone. You can do mobile for your delivery person or your salesperson, what have you. And what it does is it tries to take the friction out of creating that. I'll go back to the point. 1 in 26 actually complain. Part of that because it gets hard. Nobody wants to deal with this. So the easier that you can make it interact with your customers, the more likely they're going to use it. Next, it gives employees a common tool. That's one of the things we always hear when people are looking at this. It's like, I have sales over here using task records. I have somebody over here using Slack. And I have somebody over here using this. So what it does is allows everybody to have a common tool, so everybody can have access to it, to record all the interactions, everything that's going on there. Okay. Next, you get to automate best practices. The things that are simple that you can automate, you should do. Not everything should be automated, but there are certain things that can. Good example would be case rules. You can set up case rules that if it's this type of product issue, this gets assigned to these type of people. Okay. You can set up automation to automatically send a reply whenever something gets done on the support case. Those type of things are going to increase that communication, which is the next bullet point, and keep it consistent in what you're sharing with that customer, okay? And then your branding, it's available to set up. A good example is that you have multiple subsidiaries, and you have an East Coast and a West Coast subsidiary. If I have a customer that's assigned to the East Coast subsidiary and I create a support case, I can go ahead and automatically associate that profile or brand to that customer. So when they get that email, it may say, oh, here, we followed up with you, and if you ever want to call us, our hours are X to X, okay? But that West Coast customer, they may have different hours for the West Coast subsidiary. You can allow that profile to show those for that. So it gives you a really good way to be consistent with your branding, consistent with your communication and what's available. And then finally, what gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets better. I know everybody's heard that, but you know, a couple points I just had on this. How long does it take you to respond to a customer? Okay, how do you score on those support cases? How do those customers feel afterwards? And this just gives you another benchmark to be able to determine how you're doing as a company with that. Okay, so I want to show you a little bit here. This, I think, is a really interesting slide. It's called, what does success look like? So NetSuite does a lot of tracking of their internal customer, of their customers, and say, okay, what are our marginal, you know, competitive, best-in-class, and transformative customers? What do they do, and how does it impact their business? So this is for a wholesale distribution vertical, but it can apply to everybody. So marginal companies in the wholesale distribution vertical, their average response time is more than a day, okay? Their commerce revenue, they're looking at less than 50%, and the sales growth actually is declining, and their inventory turnover is around 3. Those that live in the competitive landscape, they're doing it, it's, you know, a little bit over 8 hours, you know, to go ahead and respond. They have a big jump. You know, they're going to have over 15% commerce revenue. They're going to be on the positive side for sales growth to 2%, and looking at 6 for your inventory turnover. Your best in class, they're going to average less than 8 hours. Commerce revenue 19, jumping up 2 points on your sales growth, and you're having another day turn on your inventory. Then finally, your transformative, you're looking at greater than 20% commerce revenue, and you have a sales growth of greater than 5%. Okay, and look at your inventory turn. So as you start to say, what does this actually impact on my business? What am I looking at? And these are actually, this is actual statistics of actual NetSuite customers, what they are getting, you know, as far as how long it takes for those support cases, then also what are they seeing in that revenue growth for that. Okay, so with that, I'm going to jump into the software. So give me 1 second here. I'll pull it over.
And as Todd jumps in, just to summarize a couple of the takeaways that he spoke about, you know, I got 3 quick ones. You know, customer service, I think the first one, customer service shouldn't be a department, right? And we hear it more and more these days that even when we expand that to customer experience, that it's really a part of the product that you sell, whether it's a service or a physical good, your customer service, your customer experience is embodied in that. So it is important to look at it from more of a global view. The second one was mentioned a couple of times, that 1 in 26 customers actually complain. So you know that there's a lot more behind that one complaint, and there could be a bigger problem, or there could be more complaints. So how do you take those seriously and address them and find a resolution? And then the last one that I would say is, you know, support cases give customers a voice to listen to. And I like this because it's not only about the customers being able to communicate and provide their feedback to you, it's also about receiving that data and having your team be enabled to utilize it and make decisions, educated business strategy decisions to aim them towards a direction that they're looking for as a business. And it also, lastly, it kind of puts everything together in your ERP to give everyone a common tool. So those are kind of some of the 3 takeaways. There's many more in what Todd talked about, but Todd, I'll pass it back to you to go into NetSuite.
Oh, good. Thanks, Mark. And one point on that, and also learned that a lot of times, just in my personal life as well, a lot of times people will report a support case or an issue because they don't want it to happen to other people. It doesn't always mean that they want money back or what have you, but it's a really good way to just keep that communication line open, and people don't want other people to have that same situation. So it's always good to get that feedback. Okay, so We're in a demo account. Some of this information is going to be good. That all the records are good, but just calling out that there's a little anemic on some of the data is a test account. So first thing I want to call out is this is a support person role. Generally speaking, we have a support person, support manager, and a support administrator role that we set up. They each have their own dashboards. Really the biggest difference between them is permissions to say do updates if you need to do that for a support administrator. But usually a support person, instead of looking at like key performance indicators for just myself, I'm going to look at it for my whole team or what have you. Okay. The dashboards that we go through and build out use a number of different ways to let you know what's going on. You have your key performance indicators up top here. You have your reminders that are going to be able to show people, hey, holy cow, I got 17 cases that are over 48 hours. I got 7 that are over 72 hours. I'm going to dig into those and see what's going on. So always keeping those front-facing for that customer service rep as they deal with them. But then also when we build out sales roles, a lot of times we'll take these same things to say, okay, my customer support cases, or my customer support cases that are over 72 hours, or my high priority support cases. So it's just giving that, especially those organizations that their salespeople really build up their relationship, gives them key insight on what's going on so they're in the loop. Okay? So now that I'm on the dashboard here, I'm just going to go through a couple of cases to show you how people use this. First thing we always try to do is we build out a customer support case lookup portlet here. And this is just going to give a lot of information that we can get to easily. You can always use the global search up top. But if I go up here and I look for Thomas Industries that I'm going to look at in a second, that's going to take me to the record. But if I'm right here and I look up Thomas and search for them, I'm going to see this information. And I'm just imagining that this person called in and they need to do something with Thomas, and I see them right here. Now, I have a couple things that I can do. First thing is from my new button here, I can actually create a case right from here. So talking about speed before, I could create a case within 10 to 15 seconds of getting on a phone call with the customer. From here, when I look up Thomas, I can see, oh, here's my contacts, okay? I can see their customer lifetime value. It's the custom field that we put on here just to show that. If I wanted to, I could actually say, Tim, hey, Tim, thanks for calling in. Are you still at this phone number? Is this your email address, to make sure that we have all the correct information? This situation with like Roger here, I can see Roger does not have a phone number. So right from here in NetSuite, I actually go and I can open up. I could actually edit that contact record from me here, add that phone number in, have that updated. Once again, I'm able to keep all my information, in one place and keep that up to date. Okay. I'm not going to create a support case on this one. I'm going to go look at the customer dashboard. But like I said, usually speaking, if I find out it's Thomas, I look them up, I can create a support case right off the bat. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and leave this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into one of my favorite areas in NetSuite, and that's the customer dashboard. So this dashboard icon that I have set up is going to take me right to the customer dashboard. And from here, I'm going to be able to see a lot of information about them. I can see the monthly sales order trend. I can see that we did a lot of work for them up until about 2019, probably had a big project for them, and then done some incremental work. So right off the bat, I know what's going on with them as far as sales. The next area I'm going to look at is my timeline portlet here. This timeline portlet is going to allow me to look at all my support case responses, see any additional cases. I can see sales orders in there. I can see messages. I have access to all of that information. So if I wanted to see phone calls too, I could just say, okay, show me the phone calls as well. So once again, I'm getting a really good insight of what's going on with that customer in its recent history and dig into that if I need to. Also, I can go ahead and I can scroll down from the customer dashboard. I'm going to see all my support cases for that customer. Do they create a lot of support cases? Is somebody that's a problem? Why are there problems? I can see all of these different things from my snapshot on the customer record of what's going on. I can go ahead and filter this information and say, I just want to see all my open support cases. Maybe I just want to see all those that are in a certain status, like that are in progress or on hold or waiting on the customer. Those are different statuses within that support case. Okay. Then also I can see overdue balance from here. I can see, wow, oof, okay, well, they're a little bit behind on their payments. Is that going to have an impact on what we're doing as a support case? So once again, have all the information right there. Also, I can also scroll down. I can see my contacts. If I needed to add a new contact, I could go ahead and add a new contact right from here on the screen and add them. Okay. since I do want to create a support case with them, there's a couple different ways. My preferred ways, you can do up here on the new button, create a case. But from right here, if I'm doing it on the dashboard and I hit create case, that I am going to have some of that information automatically filled in for me. So once again, it takes me back to that case window. I just put on here late delivery. And I know I already have my company information here. I can see all that's pulling in from the company. I'm going to go ahead and pull in Tim. I have all of his information there. And then I'm going to assign it to somebody. I could leave it open, or I can assign it to Mark, or what have you. I'll assign it to myself. And then this is where I'm going to have my statuses. And this is really like the life cycle of your support case. I'm going to move it to in progress because I'm starting. But see if something came in from the web, it's going to default in it's not started. So then when I come in the morning, I'm going to see, oh, I have a number of those that one are not assigned or in a not started progress. Okay. Also, this is really important to know, and we use this in reporting a lot, what cases are escalated, there's an issue, somebody needs to get involved. Also, we'll put on hold at times because there may be times where there's metrics on here for tracking time, but you'll need to put it on hold for whatever reason, and that'll pause that clock on there. Waiting on customer is a good one. You can set on the status there to say this is on hold, meaning that it's not going to count against the time that the customer service is working on that support case. So if you're looking at those metrics, we don't want that to impact the customer service rep if we're waiting on the customer to respond. Okay, I'm just going to leave those in progress. You can change your priority. This is always a manual setting. We do have some customers that have some workflows in place to say if it's this type of customer, it automatically goes to a high. Okay, that's just a good example of workflows that you can build out. Okay, incident information. What type is it? And this really gets into granularity and reporting. On the type, this is list you can add to this list, take away from it. It's not as big of an issue. Some people like to have it just know what type of support cases are. I'm going to put that in as a problem, and the origin is that they called on the phone. Okay, so now I have my issue, and this is where the granularity becomes very important. What's going on with this? So I have an issue here. I'm just going to say a product issue because I don't have delivery issue, but I could create that as an issue to track that. Okay, if I had a specific item that was related to, I could actually go in here and pick my item, and you can designate which items from your inventory can be selected here. Then also, if that item, say if I selected this and there's a particular serial number that was attached to that item, I could go ahead and actually track it down to my serial number on that. So I'm just going to leave this out, keep clean. At this point, I'm going to say Tim called and said delivery is running late. Okay, so with that, now I've created my support case. Okay, that's as simple as it is to create that. With it, now you have this that you're going to process. So I'm just going to come down here and I just go ahead and hit refresh. I'm going to click on this. I want to open this back up because I actually want to work on this case. So once I'm in here, I can see all the information that I had before, but now I have outgoing from support rep. And you can see that I have it defaulting into internal only. So I could say, hey, Mark, where is the, okay, in here, and I can go down and I can find Mark. Okay, I'll scroll through and I hit Mark. This is going to send an email to Mark, and it's going to be internal only. And once I hit save, it's going to go ahead and hit that, send that message. Okay, if I go back into that case, I go back up in here, refresh, I'll open that back up. When I'm looking at these here, I can now see that this has been sent to Mark. This is marked internal only. And I can go ahead and just make sure that, nope, the customer did not see that, okay? And then also I can go back in here and I can see all my metrics now. I can see that the time elapsed. Once I get closed, it'll show me how long it's taken to close, all of that information. Now, I'm going to log into my account. This is just a demo account that we have here. Now, if I'm a customer that has my account here, I can go ahead and log in here. I can go to cases and I can look at my support cases. I can see that right here. I have that late delivery, and I can see that it's in progress. And it's going to show, whatever status you have on there. If I click on there, I just have that original message from Tim. But now if I go back to that support case here, I'm going to edit this. All the time I have the options to whether or not I want to have this, update sent or not to the customer or not. You can. In this situation, it would send out to the customer. But say I find out and he is half an hour away. Okay. So I'm going to check send to customer. But say I also wanted to send it to Mark. I could also send it to Mark as well. This situation, I'm just going to have it sent to the customer. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh on here. Now they're going to see that message here because it's marked for external. Okay? So it's a real nice way for customers to be able to see on that. They can go back and look at all their old support cases if they wanted to, do what they need to do. Okay? Back in here, I'm going to look at the support case because you know what? He said half an hour, but, really having an issue, still not there. I need to escalate this to Mark Superior. So one of the natural functionalities is escalation. Issues with truck. And I want to escalate this to, let's say, Alex. Okay. So as I add Alex here, and I go ahead and I hit save, it's going to give me an alert say, hey, I'm going to change your status to escalated. Because that's really going to trigger a lot of your reports for you that you have. And so you need to go and dig into that in the past and see what's going on with that. Alex gets that email. This has been moved to escalated and can start to track it from there. Okay. Also, what you can do is like case rules. If it's over, say, 24 hours, you can have it escalated to X. So a lot of different things you can do with that. The last thing I wanted to show on the case records, I just want to show you, let's say that this was a problem with a product and you needed to do a return authorization. If I go into the search transaction here, I can go ahead, and let's say I just move this back to 17 to get some transactions here. Say if I wanted to look for a certain transaction type, I'd go ahead and hit search. From here, I can see all my transactions. I can actually select this one here and say I need to do a return authorization on the sales order. It's going to give me the option, do I want to create a return authorization or do I want to create another sales order? Say if we need to send out another product. I'm going to say I want to create a return authorization. I'm going to select this, and there's one. Let's say if there was 10 and I only need to do one, I can go ahead and select that. I'm going to hit submit. And it's automatically going to create that return authorization. It's going to link that back to the sales order that it had, and it's also going to link that to the case. So now when I go to that support case, I'm actually going to be able to see that return authorization under my related records. Okay. So with that, that's the support case record. That's just an idea of how you can use some of those. I do want to show one thing in here. I have a custom tab built out on case statistics. This is just an idea of what some people will do with theirs. A lot of times people will have their home dashboard be for what do I need to do on an ongoing basis, but what am I going on for my trend analysis for this? And this is just an example of some of the things that we built out for our customers as far as like issue tracking, things of that nature. Okay, it allows you to drill down. So if I'm a CEO and I say, ooh, I had a complaint, what's going on with that complaint? I can go ahead and dig right down into there and say, oh, I see that's for Abbott. I can see that, oh man, they're about 38,000. That's a fairly nice customer for us. What's going on with that support case? So once again, giving everybody within that organization access to that same information, what's going on, and building off that. One last thing here I'll share on cases. I'll just go in and view here. One nice thing is that on this, you can actually go into your help desk and say, if I click this help desk, what this is that everybody uses NetSuite on here. So you can actually use this for your own internal support cases. Say if I'm working with our internal IT admin and I have a problem with the safe search, I can create a support case. I can click this help desk. And what it does is that removes it from any of those other statistics. And you can always put escalation, case rules, whatever you want to help funnel that to the right area in the business. So with that, Mark, that's support cases.
All right. So we have about 13 minutes left, and I have got a few more slides that I'm going to go through. And so we're going to talk about how companies are using NetSuite, how our clients are specifically using NetSuite, and what does an actual implementation look like. And so after that, we are going to get into Q&A. We're probably going to be a little bit low on time. So I'm going to go through this with a little bit of haste, but we'll try to get through all the material. So thanks for hanging in there with us. So the first slide that I'm going to go through again is how customers are using support cases. And there's tons of different ways. I've narrowed it down to 4 key areas that I wanted to cover. The first one that we're seeing is we're seeing our clients measuring their business pulse and their interactions. And so the question that comes up for this is, are you what you say you are? And so are you what you say you are? And that's interesting, because as we're advertising, as we're marketing our competitive advantages to the outside world, are we actually backing it up? Are we bridging that gap to what we market versus what we actually do? And so some of our clients, what they're doing to make sure that those two align is they're using KPIs like Todd showed to check their response times on SLAs. They're using metrics to understand the different types of requests and what is the frequency of them. What are the trends, right? And it's narrowing it down to really understanding how the world views your business. And that's really critical, understanding how the world views your business. So that's the first one. The second one is learning about customers and planning. I've got CX there for customer experience in parentheses. This goes back to my comments about customer experience is part of your product. And so what we're seeing our clients doing is they're looking at what are the memories that they want their customers to take away from their interactions. And how can they improve upon the story and understand the reactions that their clients are having and work towards being more proactive in their customer experience than from a customer service side, which is really reactive, right? So there's customer service and there's customer experience. Customer service, right, is picking up the phone and saying, hello, how can I help? And you may be hearing a complaint, some feedback. It's a reaction to a client reaching out. But customer experience is trying to predict what that customer story is and really nailing down the details and understanding those details. And cases really can show you what that is to be able to develop a plan for your customer experience. And the other thing that our clients are doing along this front is avoiding to do the minimum. One example that Todd brought up to me the other day that I think is a great example is seeing customers that are reaching back out to their clients even after they have provided a resolution. Doing a weekly touch, or just a week after, doing a quick touch base. Hey, are you still good? Everything's still working properly. From our standpoint for our business, right, in services, we do that so we can call and make sure that when someone sits down at their desk, they're really sure about what they need to do in NetSuite. And the same thing may go for what services or products that you provide. The third one here is product performance and experience. And so that's understanding the perspective that your clients have on your products. And what our clients are doing from that standpoint is they're aggregating data on their items or groups of items to be able to get better insights to make business decisions. So an example is you may have a product that has a really high profitability margin, right? Great product, but when you pair that with your customer support and maybe your complaints, you may be getting 50% of your support cases are against that one product that has a very nice profit margin. Now, if you think about the man hours that go into managing support cases and providing support for a product, that eats away at that margin that looked so great from a financial standpoint, but maybe wasn't integrating into what is the impact on support. And so you have to make those decisions as to whether or not you're going to maybe make an update to the engineering of that product. Maybe there's a flaw, or it's maybe customer expectations that need to be set up prior to a customer receiving that product or service. So a lot of that also, when we take a step back and we just had we're going through a pandemic right now too. The second thing that I want to mention is that we want to create consistency and set a solid foundation for our support and the experience that we provide. And the purpose for that is to be able to make sure that we can react appropriately when something unexpected happens, right? We want to be able to have a nice foundation, solid foundation to settle on, so we can pivot if we need to, or lean heavily in one direction versus the other. So having that solid front from a support standpoint, your interactions with the client is really important. So the last one here, and I know I'm talking fast, so thanks again for hanging in there. But the last one is about enabling your teams and using internal help desk. The one thing that Todd, I think, has talked about quite a bit here is we want to make sure that your customer service team, or whatever the team is that's managing support cases, can focus on the customer and the journey of the customer versus the actual technological tool, right? That can often be a distraction. We want them to be efficient. We want them to be able to have what they have at their fingertips, using the dashboards and reports, all of that great information. And so being able to make sure that we're connecting with our customers, focusing on that, and making sure that it matters to us what the customers think. So those are kind of 4 main areas that we're seeing our clients utilizing support cases. What I'm going to transition to now is I'm going to talk about what does a support case implementation look like. And so what I've got here is we've got 2 different sections, and we're pretty transparent with this. GVO as a whole internally is a very transparent organization. So what I want to talk about is what are the project components and what is the ballpark pricing. So for the project components, that means what are we doing when we implement? And for our existing clients, you may have heard this word, alignment. We should set up an alignment meeting. And what that is that's a natural knowledge share between your business and us. We learn more about your business, and then we talk about NetSuite best practices so you can learn how to best utilize that native functionality. And so from there, we also get a better scope. We can provide a better estimate, and we'll dive into the project, which leads us to personalization. And personalization is getting into those details, showing you more about native NetSuite, talking about the functionality, so you can start to hone in your business as to how you're going to approach it, how you may be approaching change management too, if things are a little bit different. And then after that, we go into configuration, so we set things up, and we'll go then transition into walkthroughs, which we may do 1 or 2 walkthroughs or more, depending on the scope. But the walkthroughs are enabling you to do your own UAT, do your testing, and get ready for go live planning, which we'll step you through. And during go live, it's about ongoing support that we provide, and also scheduled office hours, which we've found is a really great way to allow your team to just be able to jump on a call and talk to one of our experts and be able to get their questions answered, or facilitating next steps. And then all of that leads us to project close, where we talk about, for this first phase, how did we do? What are some things that are maybe next up for phase 2? What are some other improvements? So all that project close kind of puts a bow on the project. And an estimated timeline is about 3 to 6 weeks overall, which leads us to our pricing. Like, how much does that cost? And 40 to 100 hours, 40 being a pretty light implementation, $7,200 to $18,000 being more on the heavier side. That first phase is a one-time cost. You may have additional phases after that, which is more cost, but that initial phase gets you off and running. It's not a subscription based from that standpoint in terms of services. And then just variables that go into that pricing. So there's functionality such as support case rules, online forms, automation, right? If we bring in our development team, they are creating something maybe from scratch or something that we've used in the past, which is additional cost. We also may share some of the responsibilities with you. So if you have an IT staff, our goal isn't to rip away services or things that your own IT team can do. We want to enable them to be as functional and be able to support you and your business. So working side by side is something that we often do. And then support hours, of course, vary, as well as dashboards and reporting. We'll start with native NetSuite, and we can always go much more beyond that. Todd showed a couple examples of KPIs that are pretty common, and we can build upon that. And then lastly, if you own NetSuite, you own support cases. This is a big area that people often put to the side and forget about, and it just disappears into the world of NetSuite. And so part of this is to help bring that back into the focus and say, hey, is this something that you can utilize in your NetSuite platform that you're already paying for? So with that, those are kind of the two areas as to how we approach, what are the steps, the high level steps, and then what's the pricing, what's the time frame. Of course, they're averages and they're generals, but that's to give you an idea if you're trying to budget, maybe for 2021, that's coming up probably in the fall, but as you're looking at budgeting, that might be helpful information. So I know we've got a couple minutes left, and so one thing that I just want to summarize, we talked about why it's important, how does it promote success, right? How does support cases promote success? Todd then dove into NetSuite and showed you some of the tools, how to create a case, what are some of the metrics. We talked about how clients use support cases and what does that implementation look like. So with that, I'm going to take a look at the chat. I've got one question for Todd just to round things out. And then if there are no questions in the chat, which there might not be, we can wrap up and end the session. So Todd, real quick, from a kind of parallel to what I was talking about from the client side, what are some of the industries that you're seeing are utilizing support cases pretty heavily, and why are you seeing that?
Like I mentioned earlier, almost every organization that we deal with could use support cases, whether it's not-for-profit or wholesale distribution or manufacturing. But some of those industries that I see really heavy use is services industries. Anybody that deals with customers on a continuous basis, especially when it comes to services and people. I see a lot of uses in that, and also a lot of workflows built out around that, and automation. It's really been very successful for some of our service-based customers. And then the second would be those in the wholesale distribution or e-commerce that are dealing primarily with people electronically, never having that time to talk face-to-face or what have you. It's really important to get some kind of automation in place to be able to accept a support case and respond with that, because you don't have that face-to-face to be able to compensate for it. So those businesses, those are seeing a lot of success in support cases and that branding, and also that customer retention.
Okay. Yeah, and if you can go down just a couple of slides, Todd, I just want to wrap up then and just wrap up this meeting, I guess. So the couple things. So we can help, right? So as we talked about GVO, we are here to help. So whether you're an existing client, the first one on this list is we can do a personalized review of support cases with you. Your business consultant can sit down and talk through that strategy. And the second thing is, for those that are not clients of GVO, if you are looking for help, we are offering an assessment on your NetSuite account. And one of our business consultants will get in touch with you, and we have kind of a standard process. And the goal is to make sure that you are utilizing all of NetSuite and getting the most out of the platform. So that's really important, especially in this day and age where there's so much in our ERP that we might be missing. So answering that question, are you utilizing the most out of NetSuite that you can? And then just to talk about what's next, we have Suite Commerce is coming up in July. And so Todd will be joining me as well on that topic. If you're interested in hearing more tips and tricks, hearing when our webinars are, I really highly suggest that you guys follow us on LinkedIn. It's a great way to be able to see, like I said, just some updates. We do weekly updates. We talk about when our webinars are. We talk about, some tips and tricks here and there. There's a lot of information that we're putting out. So take a look and follow us on LinkedIn. Otherwise, we'll be sending out emails as well. If you're on that list, you'll get the emails, and you can register for the Suite Commerce event through that. Overall, thank you guys so much for jumping on today with our NetSuite Simplified webinar.